As everyone tries to share their tips for you of buying the dip as the market has recently pulled on back, I wanted to share 3 tips with you on things to avoid. So things not to do when buying the dip. Again, I find this to be more useful because these are more common mistakes we tend to see with beginners that often get them in more hot water. All I literally ask you to do is, if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something new, please consider dropping a thumbs up and subscribing if you feel like we earned it. Now, I want to just jump right into it. We don't know how low the markets can go. I'm not going to pretend like we do because we just need to understand the why. As of right now, we're entering this trade war. Inflation is beginning to pick back up, and it's really important to understand what these negative catalysts are. And as long as they're still present, yes, the market can continue to get lower or go lower. So the first thing that I want to remind you is the mistake that you do not want to make is whatever stock it is or number of stocks that you decide to buy the dip on, please understand that the cheap can always get cheaper. I want to give you an example of this. I think examples are really useful for beginners so you can kind of put yourself in positions where you understand that things can get worse before they get better. So yes, we currently have seen a pullback right around to the moving average for QQQ. For those that do not know, QQQ is the NASDAQ 1-for-1 ETF. So again, if you wanted to gain exposure to the NASDAQ market, you would buy QQQ. A lot of other people like to buy SPY. Again, it's the same general idea. This is the SPY. Overall, pretty bullish. This is on the day chart. We recently pulled on back to the moving average. If we look at the week time frame, the thing that I want to show you is in 2022 to 2023, we didn't just pull back to the EMA, we pulled back to the moving average. This is, again, when inflation was beginning to pick up and the Federal Reserve was going to need to raise interest rates and then go into cutting interest rates, which is what we're now experiencing. Inflation hit highs of 9.1% and then has now gone to lows of around 3%. Inflation, and unfortunately, has begun to pick back up. And if Trump continues to implement these tariffs, then again, inflation can pick up even quicker if, again, these tariffs actually go into effect and start to get captured in our CPI data report. But if you guys see from overall highs in 2022 to the retracement that we saw all the way to the end of 2022, this was about a 10-month sell-off. So I don't even care so much about the 26% downturn. That's for the NASDAQ market. So this is correction territory. Anytime that the market pulls back more than 20%, we are technically in a correction from previous all-time highs. We're not even there yet when it comes down to the current market. From overall highs as of right now to the current lows, we're down about 6%. We hit lows of around 7.7%, but if we end up breaking below that EMA, we would need to sell off to lows of, let's see what that is, right around 490. Yep, there it goes. Right around 490 to enter correction territory for the NASDAQ market or for the S&P 500. So the reason I want to remind you of that is, can we get there? Of course. And the reason that this is so important is I like to put that into perspective where you might think that it looks bad now, which again, we don't know if this is the bottom, but looking at history and when we do enter these corrections, right, these big downturns of 20 to 26%, they don't just last a month, kind of what we've experienced so far. They can last 10 months. They can last a year. I mean, there's no timeline in how little they have to last. So please make sure the number one mistake to avoid is thinking that you are catching a stock at the bottom, but of course not respecting that the dip can continue to dip. So understand the timeline of how bad something can be. And if you simply cannot tolerate that potential timeline for that downturn, then do not buy the dip because it's only going to lead to you to potentially cut losses. And again, it's a very common mistake that people make. They buy the dip assuming that it's as bad as it's going to get, but who knows what 2025 has in store for us. If we do break the support, if we do continue to sell off, then there is way more downturn. And if S&P 500 and the NASDAQ market continue to sell off, I can reassure you that whatever tech company you're invested in will most likely sell off as well. So please understand that the number one mistake to avoid is that thinking you are buying at the bottom. The dip can continue to dip, so understand and make sure that you can tolerate the timeline that it might take for that stock to recover. The second thing that I want to make sure and that I emphasize is for all of my traders or investors using a margin account, do not buy with money you do not have. By understanding that, yes, we have recently dipped. Let me use an actual stock as an example instead of an ETF. Let's say like NVIDIA. I like NVIDIA. I like the company. I like how it's recently pulled on back based off previous patterns. It's a little bit more on the oversold side. I think it's a really good quality company. It has great projections for 2025, 2026. It's one of the most successful companies and most valuable companies that's publicly traded. I like how much it's sold off. If I have if I have $10,000 in my trading account, but sometimes when you have a margin account, because this is such a safe stock and because it's such a good stock over a long period of time, your margin or your trading account might allow you to buy with twice as much and sometimes even with 4 times as much as what you actually have. So that $10,000 you have, you might actually have $20,000 or up to $40,000 in buying power. Please, by understanding the first thing, that the dip can continue to dip, by you buying with every penny in your account, and if you use margin and then you begin to use more money than what you have in your account and the stock continues to sell off, you will get margin called, which means that you will then need to deposit more money or liquidate your position because you simply do not have enough money in your account to have that margin any longer. And think about it. If you are then buying $40,000 worth of a stock, it continues to dip, you are using a lot of money to lose, and then you're going to get margin called. You're going to have to either deposit more or cut losses and reduce your position size to meet that margin call. And then now you have less money to work with and you're taking a more substantial loss. So again, it's very simple. It shouldn't be that complicated. Do not use margin when buying the dip because you are simply putting yourself in a tougher position that you cannot tolerate. If we continue to experience a downturn, you are borrowing money to then lose money at a quicker rate. So the whole way that I use margin or view margin is that if you're buying the dip, margin, in my opinion, should be utilized when direction is in your favor and it is making you money. You use it as a vehicle to make more money, as a tool to make more money, not to lose money, right? So please understand that the worst mistake that you can make as a beginner is buying the dip with money you don't even have, using margin that can lead to a margin call if the direction ends up going against you. Learn to use margin in your favor when direction is in your favor, not when it's going against you. I don't care about what you hope for it to happen. I want you to focus on what is currently happening, and you have to respect that, yes, things can get worse before they get better. If this thing begins to uptick and if it begins to show signs of recovery, then you can decide when to use either that margin or increase your position size appropriately. But one thing that I always share with my LPP students is some of the times that I feel most in control is when I have a smaller position in any given stock or trade, because I feel like I'm more easily able to tolerate not just the good case scenarios, but also the worst case. And that's exactly the position that I would like to be in when I'm buying the dip on a stock that I don't know how much more it can continue to sell off. Keep it light, keep it tight. Again, very simple. And then the third thing that I want to make sure that I want beginners to avoid is overcomplicating either your watch list or what stocks you're going to buy the dip on. So many traders are just like, yep, I'm just going to randomly buy this stock, or I'm going to randomly buy 5 or 10 different stocks. I'm going to buy the dip on all of them. And guess what? There's no structure. There's no trade plan. There's no proper intention. Like, you're just doing it blindly. I think less is more in these kinds of opportunities. You have a lot of different stocks to choose from. You should never listen to other people of what stock or investment is best or most ideal for you. You should take time to understand what each one of those offers and then select as little as possible. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. I like to keep it very simple, and for all of our beginners, I think it's best to keep it at 3 or less. The reason why is, again, this is a market full of chaos. There's a lot of different moving parts. If you have many different positions as a beginner, and if markets continue to downturn, it puts you in a really tough position to tolerate. And then again, you need to think about worst case scenario, not just best case. So if you have so many positions that you simply cannot manage and all are selling off, it can become very overwhelming. So in the way that I view it is I would rather focus on one or two stocks that are, offer the best potential risk to reward ratios, that I see great recovery potential, that meet my criteria. And then the third stock can be an ETF that kind of gains you exposure to a larger basket of companies, such as maybe, QQQ, SPY, or maybe for those that like to focus more on the Dow Jones, you can go on the SDAO or UDAO, right? Whatever it is that you end up seeing value in. Nonetheless, I view QQQ and SPY to be one of the safer ones, but you can pick any alternative ETF that has a larger exposure to a larger basket of companies. The thing that I want to remind you of for like the first one or two, this is again one of the things that I like to focus on is one of the stocks that I plan to buy the dip on is definitely NVIDIA. I like the company. I like the way that it's been trading, and I like its projections for 2025 and 2026. I think it's like a juggernaut of a company. So the more that it sells off, again, the more excited I get because I get it buy it at a better deal. With that being said, it's not an incredibly lucrative stock. I mean, it offers great potential ROI. If it ends up recovering, that's 34%. And knowing that things can get worse before they get better, I do get very excited about that. If you have a higher risk tolerance, then yes, maybe you can focus on stocks with higher risk to reward ratios. You just have to be in a position to be able to tolerate that volatility. If you have a lower risk tolerance, then companies that maybe don't look so flashy but are very consistent over a long period of time can also be something that might meet your criteria. Something like Costco, something like Walmart. They're not very flashy companies, but they're very bullish over a long period of time and have recently pulled on back. And if it does end up recovering, this thing offers 10 to 11% of potential recovery based off of the current price level. The thing that I love about this is that there are so many different ways on how to make money. There are incredibly risky stocks that offer great reward, but again, come at a greater form of risk and are maybe not as established companies that tend to be a little bit more volatile. Then there's the middle ground. There's like the Magnificent Seven that have recently pulled on back and then again offered really decent ROI or recovery potentials if the market does end up recovering. Then you have much safer plays such as Costco, Walmart, those companies that don't move as aggressively, but again, are just incredibly bullish over a long period of time. You decide what you want to expose yourself to. You decide what you can tolerate, but all I'm here to remind you is please do not make the mistake of trading on margin. Do not make the mistake of buying the dip with too much position or too much size and then not being able to tolerate how much more the stock can continue to dip. I would say, representing the timeline that it was going to actually take for the market to actually recover. The market is not on your schedule. You're on the market schedule. So understand that and respect that. And third, to focus on just as few stocks as you can to make sure that you don't put yourself in a position that might be too overwhelming if markets quickly begin to recover, or if markets aggressively begin to sell off out of nowhere and you just feel devastated if they turn against you. So keep it light, keep it tight, stay patient. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I hope that this video was helpful. And again, I do trade live every morning. That means that you get to watch my entries, my exits on every trade that I take during those live sessions. If you ever want to tune on in, that's that second link in the description down below. And I hope to see you for our live trading session starting Monday. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.